So do what you want with that information. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to ruffle some feathers, but it's what I firmly believe. Brandon Miller, he shouldn't be suspended. He should still be playing. You know why I believe that? Because he hasn't done anything wrong, and they have video evidence that he hasn't done anything wrong. Finally, I am back, and yes, you are going to realize in this video, number one, I sound a little bit weird, and number two, I'm not as energetic, and that is because I'm coming off of wisdom teeth surgery, and I'm still currently dealing with some complications that have happened after surgery. I told you guys, what was it? I believe, oh wait, yeah, it was about 6 days ago. That's an all-time record because most of you know, if you've been subscribed for a long time, we post every day on this channel for 3 years ongoing. So me not posting for 6 days, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I do want to be transparent and honest with y'all. I'm still in a lot of pain because it hasn't been the smoothest recovery, and I'll leave it at that. I know you guys don't really care about that, but I just want to give you some perspective. So if I'm not sounding as upbeat as normal, that is why I'm still in a lot of pain. However, with that being said, I have been dying to talk about this situation, and I'm going to apologize. I know I'm late to the news, but like I said, I've been through surgery and whatnot, so this is the first time I've been able to speak on it. And oh yeah, by the way, we're not doing no intro, none of that. You know what we're about to get into, the Brandon Miller situation. Oh man, to say it's been a interesting past couple of days in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, that would be an understatement. When was it? It feels like forever ago, but it was only a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago. Alabama, one of their players, Darius Miles, he got arrested for capital murder. We've already talked all about that. He's been arrested. If he does get convicted, he's going to be in jail for a very long time. With that being said, a new update came out about 5 days ago that Alabama's star basketball player and arguably one of the best players in the country, not just one of the best freshmen in the country, one of the best players in the country, Brandon Miller, he was involved. How was he involved? Like I said, I know I'm late to the news. I'm sure many of you know this by now, but he brought Darius Miles the gun. This is proven. None of this is in question. Brandon Miller brought the gun that was used in the shooting. So obviously this is groundbreaking news, and I knew it was going to blow up. Why did I know that? Because it's one of the best players in the country. If this was some 9th or 10th man on Alabama, we wouldn't even be making this video. Nobody would have been hyping it up like they are, but since it is a big time player, that's why we're talking about it. Long story short, the news comes out, everybody, they get to talk, and everybody forms their own opinion and blah, 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 blah. You know how that goes. The interesting part about this, and as an Alabama fan myself, it caught me by surprise, Brandon Miller played in the game against South Carolina on Wednesday. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but I gotta be honest, that shocked me. It didn't shock me because I didn't think he'd play. It shocked me because I was almost certain Alabama was gonna make him sit out. Do I myself, Matt B. Great, think he should have sat out that game? No, I do not, but I'll talk about that in a second. Leading up to the South Carolina game, everybody's like, okay, are they gonna suspend him? Are they gonna let him play? And Alabama comes out and says Brandon Miller will play in the game. In my opinion, I agree with it. I don't think Brandon Miller should have been suspended or should have had to sit out that game. I don't. Getting to the game itself, if you didn't watch it, I hate to inform you, but you missed one of, if not the best performances you will ever see out of a freshman. What a game and what an environment it was in South Carolina. I mean, make no mistakes about it, South Carolina is a piss poor, terrible team. I believe they're 10-19 at this point, but they played out of their minds. They should have won the game. It seemed like everything was going their way. They was hitting half-court shots, getting and ones, but the only reason they didn't win this game is guess why? Brandon Miller. Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Miller finished this game going 14 for 25 from the field, 6 for 13 on threes, and had 41 points. 41 points in a hostile environment, and the reason I label it as a hostile environment is because the fans were booing him and saying crazy stuff from start to finish. With all these accusations going on, everybody talking, everybody saying this, everybody saying that, everybody was questioning, and even myself, hey, mentally, is Brandon Miller going to be ready for the game? And all he did was go out there and drop 41. Screw the off the court stuff, how you feel about him. If this doesn't show you, that game alone didn't show you how great of a player he is, I don't know what will. People don't understand basketball. As a former basketball player myself, I'd say 60-70% of the game, it's mental. For example, and I'm sure some of you can relate, I played with guys that were some of the best practice players I've ever seen. They were 99 overalls, cooking me left and right, but in the game, they average 2 points per game. Why? Because it's different. A lot of people mentally can't go out there and have the confidence to be the man. The thing with Brandon Miller is, with everything going on mentally, he was still prepared for the game, and I think it helped him. I don't want you to take this the wrong way. I would say this without the allegations and stuff going on, but Brandon Miller is a cold-blooded killer on the court. And what was so impressive to me about the South Carolina game is how efficient he is. He doesn't force shots. And I know it's cliche and corny, but he reminds me so much of Kevin Durant. One thing I've always admired about Kevin Durant's game is although Kevin Durant could score 50 points every night, he doesn't do that. He doesn't force shots. Kevin Durant, he's efficient. Kevin Durant is one of the few players who can score 40 points on 15 shots. And the way Brandon Miller plays, it's so calm, silky, and smooth. It reminds me a lot of KD. But getting along here, I also want to throw this in there for South Carolina. That G.G. Jackson, which is their star freshman, that dude, he's really good. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter. You're still a terrible team, but I did want to say that G.G. Jackson kid, really solid. And once again, I want to say this. I know I sound weird and I'm slurring my words a little bit, but I'm still in pain and recovering from my wisdom teeth surgery. Someone even tweeted out, this blank beat a murder judge. The proceeder dropped 40 the next day. He really killed it. I'm telling you, Twitter is undefeated. But getting back on track here on a serious note, here's where things start to get interesting. After the South Carolina game, Brandon Miller's attorney released a statement, and it is long, but it is very, and I mean very important. Y'all know how I am. I don't like reading off long stuff, but this is so important to our video and story. If you don't listen to anything else, please listen to these next couple of minutes. Because a lot of people I've seen on Twitter, social media, they have failed to actually read this. Yet again, this is from Brandon Miller's attorney talking about what happened on the night of the shooting. On January 14th, Brandon played in a basketball game in the afternoon and later was asked by Darius Miles for a ride to the strip area to go to a nightclub. Mr. Miles brought a legal handgun and left it in the backseat of Brandon's vehicle. Brandon never saw the handgun nor handled it. Further, it is our understanding that the weapon was concealed under some clothing in the backseat of his car. Brandon did not go into the nightclub. Instead, he left and went to a restaurant to eat. At approximately midnight, Mr. Miles began asking Brandon to come pick him up so they could leave and go to another location to join friends. Brandon advised that he would be along later, and approximately 1 hour later, Brandon began to leave the restaurant to pick up Mr. Miles, but first had to give another companion a ride home. Before Brandon arrived to pick up Mr. Miles and the individual with Miss Harris apparently exchanged words. Without Brandon knowing any of the context, and as Brandon was already on the way to pick up Mr. Miles texted Brandon and asked him to bring him his firearm. Brandon subsequently arrived at the scene to pick up Mr. Miles. Brandon never got out of his vehicle or interacted with anyone in Miss Harris' party. He was never involved in a verbal altercation with Cedric Johnson or Mr. Davis. Brandon never touched a gun, was not involved in the exchange of Mr. Davis in any way, and never knew that the illegal activity involving the gun would occur. Brandon did not block the Jeep driven by Mr. Johnson. In fact, Brandon had already parked on Grace Street when the Jeep pulled up behind him. The street was never blocked by Brandon's vehicle. Gunfire erupted shortly after the Jeep arrived, and Brandon's vehicle was struck by bullets fired from one of the guns. Brandon quickly left the area when gunfire erupted. As soon as he was notified that someone had been injured and the police wished to speak with him, he has fully cooperated with law enforcement's investigation. That's a key part we'll talk about in a second. All the events described above are clearly captured on video. I'll talk about that in a second as well. There is no dispute about Brandon's activities during this evening. I'm going to highlight these last two parts because people have failed to not only mention this, but even consider it. I want y'all to understand this. This isn't a situation where Brandon Miller, he knew he was in the wrong or just hanging around the wrong people and something happened and he's been hiding from law enforcement. No, he went to the police. He's been cooperating. This isn't like the police found out last week that he was involved. No, they knew he was involved. He's the one who said it. To go on top of that, and this is the biggest piece of information that nobody's bringing up or, like I said, considering, there's video evidence of all this happening. The reason Brandon Miller is still playing in basketball games is because there's video evidence of this stuff. And when I say video evidence, I mean there's video evidence stating that he is A-okay. He didn't do anything wrong. I already know some people are going to run to the comment section. Well, oh, Matt, you know you can't facilitate in a murder. You can't give someone the gun. And, well, I'll talk about that in a second as well. Let's get back on track here and read this last part. Brandon has submitted to multiple interviews to assist law enforcement in further understanding the situation. He has volunteered to have his phone contacts extracted as well as the contacts of his automobile. He will continue to cooperate as any citizen should who has witnessed a serious incident. Brandon does not own a firearm and has never even handled a firearm. Moreover, he had no knowledge of any intent to use any weapon. Oh man, let's talk about it. I get it. I already know what everybody's going to say. Well, Matt, you're an Alabama fan. I wouldn't expect you to believe that Brandon Miller shouldn't be playing in these games. I know how it goes, but I tell you right now, and you can believe believe this if you want or not, my opinion on the situation has nothing to do with Brandon Miller playing for Alabama basketball. It really doesn't. When I evaluate these topics, when I make these videos, I try to be as unbiased as I can be. And I'll tell you right now, I'm probably the most rational Alabama fan, basketball, football, water polo, or golf you'll ever meet. Part of the reason why some of my best friends, some of the guys I hang out with all the time, go get lunch with, they're Tennessee football fans, they're Georgia fans, because I'm unbiased. I'm not one of these arrogant a-hole Alabama fans, and y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm not just going to sit up here and say, oh yeah, he didn't do nothing wrong, let's keep playing him just because I'm an Alabama fan. So do what you want with that information. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to ruffle some feathers, but it's what I firmly believe. Brandon Miller, he shouldn't be suspended. He should still be playing. You know why I believe that? Because he hasn't done anything wrong, and they have video evidence that he hasn't done anything wrong. However, do gotta say, I am shocked that Alabama didn't say, hey, you're gonna have to sit down until this investigation's over with. I am shocked. Whoa, hold on. Before I go any farther, I know what all of you are gonna bring up, and I know what argument you're gonna bring up, and it is a good one. Well, Matt, what about the part where Brandon Miller brought the weapon to Darius Miles? I'm going to highlight it for you right here. Darius Miles, which is labeled as Mr. Miles, texted Brandon Miller and told him to bring the firearm. Whenever I talk about these subjects, whenever I make a video on a topic, I always try to picture myself in that situation and how I would react and what would I do. Because it's easy for me to criticize somebody or say this or say that, but when you put yourself in that situation or in their shoes, it's a little bit different. So me, myself, when I played basketball, if we're coming off a big time W, we go to the restaurant after the game, hang out with a friend. He texts me at 1:30 a.m. while we're still out, but he's at a different place. Says, hey, Matt, I left my firearm in your car. Can you bring it to me? I'm at Waffle House. Yeah, I am going to be a little hesitant, but at the same time, I'm not thinking in the back of my mind, oh, this guy's about to kill somebody. For example, I had to borrow one of my friend's hammers the other day, and if he texts me at 1 a.m., he's like, hey, Matt, I'm working on a late night project. Can you bring my hammer by? I'm not thinking he's about to do something crazy. And at the same time, another reason why I'm going to give Brandon Miller the benefit of the doubt is because that was his friend's property. That was his gun. He just left it in his car. You see what I'm saying? For Darius Miles, it's his property. And I don't think Brandon Miller was thinking twice about it. He was like, oh, he just wants his gun back. The biggest lie about all of this is a lot of people out here are trying to act like Brandon Miller's like, yeah, I'm going to give this guy his gun back so he can go get this guy, whatnot. That is not what happened. Number one, Brandon Miller is one of the humblest kids you'll ever see that is as good as he is. And number two, I don't think he's dumb. Why would he risk that? He knows he's about to be a multimillionaire. He knows he's about to be drafted in the top 5 of the up-and-coming NBA draft. Do you really think a guy like that would assist in a crime like this? I don't think so. And the craziest part about this is nobody would be talking about this. Nobody would make a big scene about this if Brandon Miller averaged 3 points a game. You cannot tell me I'm wrong. They just want to see this guy fail because he's great. And I'm going to let you know up front, this is the first time we are speaking on this situation, and I can promise you and guarantee this, it will not be the last time. We will probably make at bare minimum at least 7 more videos on this topic. Why is that? Oh, it has a little something to do with Alabama is one of, if not the best team in all college basketball, and their star player, the guy involved in this situation, Brandon Miller, he's about to go into the NCAA tournament, and you know this conversation is just going to continue to heat up. I don't think it's right, but it's a cold hard truth. We are just scraping the surface of what's about to go down. This will not be the end of it. Every arena Brandon Miller plays at from now on, outside of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Coleman Coliseum, he will be booed at. People online will continue to say and state that Brandon Miller should not be playing. Like I said, will not be the last time we talk about this situation because I got much more to say, and you better believe that. Let me know your thoughts down below. Yet again, I know I said it, but I'm going to say it again. Happy to be back. Hope you guys are happy to hear me again, and I do apologize. I don't sound as energetic and words kind of slurred here and there. Still recovering and whatnot. Hope you guys enjoyed rather less. I'm out, y'all. Peace. Oh, wait, I forgot. Run away, Billy!